Hey everybody, James back here again, bringing you another video. Today I want to talk about how to increase your accuracy with the pistol. Now I'm not saying you'll be like 22 Plinkster or some type of match shooter by the end of this video, but I just wanted to give you a few tips that's helped me over the years on making myself more accurate with a pistol and sighting in the gun, or gripping the gun, or anything along that. So, the first thing is you want to feel comfortable with the gun. You don't want to be a gun. You don't want to have a gun in between your hands where you don't like it. It's not comfortable. It hurts to shoot, or it's just not for you. It doesn't fit you. And what I mean by that is every gun and every person's different. Nobody is going to have the same gun and it's going to feel the same way in everybody's hands. Everybody's hands are different. Hands, fingers, different shapes, sizes, whatever. But what you can do is on different sizes of firearms, because you have those different varieties of firearms now that are subcompact, compact, full size, extra big. It's all about the grip, and the grip's one of the main reasons why people suffer from accuracy in pistols. I go to the range all the time, and I'm not trying to say people suck, but when you're shooting at a target that's 5 yards away, which is 15 feet, and you're getting a spread that looks like a shotgun shell, that's not very good. And it's not that they're bad shooters or anything like that. I mean, it could be the gun too. I'm not saying it's them, but it's just I've seen it a lot, and I just wanted to come out with these tips to help you guys, because I'm almost getting about this size of a group at 7 yards, all 5 shots. If I take my time, I can get about 5 shots in the size of a $half with my 9mm. That's what I shoot personally. That's probably one of the best rounds out for accuracy, from my opinion. And it's really inexpensive to shoot. I can get a box of 9mm 50 rounds for around $10 a box. So anyways, back to the point where you want to feel comfortable with the gun. Now you want a gun that, like right now, my mother-in-law is in the midst of getting ready to purchase a firearm for her carry daily use. And she has, her hands are probably just a little bit smaller than mine. I mean, I'm not saying she has gigantic hands, but you know what I mean. Probably, they're fortunate. So, and she was recommending, or somebody recommended to her to get a 45 caliber 1911 combat series, or I think it's the shorter one. I can't remember exactly, the 4 1/4 inch barrel. It's not the full size. So, anyways, somebody said that at a store recommended that for her, and I'm telling you, you don't want to carry, if you're going to look for a carry gun, you don't want a big gun to carry. Now that's up to you. I'm just saying my personal experience. I don't like heavy guns. Now for target practicing, more heavier the gun the better, because you're going to be more accurate with it. And just depends on, it has to be balanced too. And what I mean by that is, you're going to get a better grip. You want to make sure you got a good grip on that gun, no matter what gun it is, polymer frame, full metal frame, whatever, revolver. Just the thing with revolvers is you're not going to be able to get that full-on grip like you are with the semi-automatic, because you don't want that muzzle blast out of the cylinder to catch your hand on fire or burn your hand. So you're going to have a grip farther back on a revolver compared to a semi-auto. Semi-auto, your offhand, or your weak hand, is going to be more forward, and it's going to assist you in the barrel lineup, and it's going to make you a better shooter. So that's why a lot of people suffer with accuracy. Your grip is probably one of the main reasons, and it's not the only reason, but it's probably one of the main reasons why you suffer, because you might have the trigger pull down, you might have it to where you get it to that point and you just keep squeezing and squeezing and it finally breaks and you're good to go, but your bullets are still spread out. And like I said, it's the grip. That's the problem with the grip. But if you, the second thing is, like I said, the trigger. You need to figure out the smoothness of the trigger, where it breaks, and then you got it set. That's where it's at. If your trigger's too heavy, or I never had a problem with trigger too light, but I'm just saying there's triggers out there in certain guns that, like my take for example, my Smith & Wesson SD9 VE. When I first got it, The hinge trigger, I'm not a big fan of hinge triggers, but it was so horrible. It was like 8 to 9 pounds, which is ridiculous for a handgun. Even though it was the self-defense trigger, is what they call it, because it has no safety. That's just way too heavy for somebody, because I believe if the trigger is that heavy and you have your sights lined up on target and everything, and you keep squeezing and squeezing and squeezing and squeezing and squeezing and squeezing, and finally it breaks, you're already torquing a gun with your strong arm. And what that means is your gun's actually tweaking as you're pulling the trigger, because it's following your trigger finger as you keep squeezing, squeezing, and squeezing. And that's not very good. You want a gun that's comfortable. It actually lines up, and once you get your finger lined up with the trigger, because you want to use, and that's another thing on your trigger finger. On your trigger finger, you want to find the bend at your fingertip where your finger bends. Then you want to go up about halfway, and that's where you want to line up your trigger at. The center of your trigger vertically, like this. You want to line it up and then square it off. Just squeeze it, and boom, you're good to go. Because if you have too much trigger, it can cause it to tweak to the left. If you have too less of a trigger, it can cause it to tweak to the right. It just depends. There's a actual chart you guys can look up to see actually what's happening. If you're aiming dead center on the target and your bullets aren't hitting center, then it's either the gun sights are off, or something happens with the excuse me, something is happening with the recoil, whether you're healing it or you're causing it to you're anticipating the recoil, which is not good. You don't want to jerk the gun before the gun even goes off, and that's a big no-no, because you don't know where your bullets are going to go. Because if you're sitting there jerking a gun as you're squeezing the trigger, your bullets are going to be all over the place. So, like I said, grip is the number one thing. You make sure you get a nice grip on your strong hand, because you want that handle of that pistol to stick right in between the webbing of your thumb, and you want to make sure your thumb is just relaxed. I mean, it's just sitting there. That's all it is, just sitting there like that. You just stick your hand out, stick your gun in it, just let it relax. That's all you need to do. And then you use your offhand to cup around it. And like I said, I'm not a professional shooter by any means, but I know what's worked for me, and I've been getting better and better over the years. And I figured out, it's not what everybody does. You're going to do what you want, and you're going to figure out what works for you. I'm just saying what's worked for me. And for me, the grip is a big thing. Then you got your trigger. Whether it's light or heavy, you want to make sure you use the right amount of trigger finger. And then after that, your recoil. If your gun is shooting so bad that it's rising back, excuse me. Now, I know revolvers are going to do that with the heavier caliber, but if it's a semi-automatic and it's a low caliber, like a 9mm or a 380 or something along that nature, that people are actually going to carry, because there's a lot of guys out there that carry 40s too, but to me a 40 is not that great, but that's my opinion. You're going to carry 40, 45. 45 is a heavy hitting round. Unless you got springs set up in your guns and aftermarket and all that good stuff, you're going to have a lot of recoil. And that recoil is going to throw you off. So, excuse me. But yeah, if you just go by these 3 tips, like I said, grip, trigger, and recoil, you should be good to go on accuracy. And, before you even go to the range and waste the money that before you buy time to shoot or go out and shoot, waste your time to go out and shoot and buy ammunition and all that stuff, just practice in your house. Just get a good grip on your gun and line it up and just gently squeeze that trigger till it finally breaks, and just keep practicing and practicing and practicing. And if you don't want to dry fire it, use a spent casing or go buy those dummy rounds or something like that, dry fire rounds. It's up to you. I dry fire my gun without anything in it, so I don't care. I believe it actually breaks it in even without shooting it. And you can also check out my video on how to break in a firearm without having to shoot it. So, if you want to do that, that way your trigger finger, you get a grip or get a grasp of what your trigger finger would feel like, or your trigger would feel like after the gun's broken in, because you have to shoot, a few hundred rounds, I'd say, through a gun to get it broken in. And that way you know whether or not you got to spend the money on upgrading the trigger or the springs or whatever you need to do to get that gun to feel the way you want and comfortable. Because that's just how it happens sometimes. You buy a gun and it might be comfortable in the hand, but the trigger's not that great. It always happens that way. Especially on the lower end of the spectrum of the guns, you know, I should say inexpensive guns. But it is what it is. You know, you're going to customize anything the way you want anyway, so you might as well do it in a way it's comfortable to you and the way it makes you shoot better. So, but anyways, like I said, you follow those tips and you should be good to go. You should be getting pretty good, decent sized groups. I mean, like I said, you're not going to be a sharpshooter after this video, but you know, if your groups are out this far, it should tighten them up pretty good. I mean, it also depends on ammunition, but that's a whole nother ball game. That's a whole different video. You know, if you just shoot the cheap stuff like I do, like I said, $10 a box, full metal jacket, 9mm, should be good to go. I haven't had any 9mm that haven't functioned well out of my guns and fired well and really accurate, so I don't see the problem with it. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's not that super short video, but you know, I just want to get my tips out there, and I hope these help, because like I said, I see a lot of people shooting groups that are, I'm not saying they suck like I said before, but they're just ridiculous on paper. And another tip, if you want to be a more accurate shooter, shoot a smaller target. Don't go by the big full-size body targets, because I go by the saying aim small, miss small. So if you're shooting, if you put a target on the pulley system and run it out to 7 yards, and you got, like I said, the full body target, you're going to think, oh, I hit the person if you didn't get them directly where you aim. That's not the point of it. The point of it is you want that bullet to go where you want it to go. And if you're shooting at a small target, about 12 by 12 or something like that, and you aim dead center and you hit dead center, there you go. Because on a bigger target, you put that crosshair, or you put the sight where you want it to hit, pull the trigger, and it goes where you want it to go. That's what it's supposed to do. So anyways, alright guys, thanks for watching. As always, we'll see you on the next one. I'm out.